YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and randomly we get a pretty big trade here. Brandin Cooks goes from the Rams to the Texans. I'm here to break down the details, give you my thoughts and grades for each of these teams here. Got pretty quiet. Everyone just waiting for the draft. You know, a lot of free agents still available, but nothing's happening. We heard Cooks could be traded, nothing's happening. Finally, out of nowhere, a trade. Cooks to the Texans. Before we get started, we'll be live during the NFL Draft Day 1, that is April 23rd, right here on YouTube. Instant reaction, analysis, breakdowns, predictions throughout the whole first round of the draft, and then we'll be interacting with you guys in the chat, of course. Hopefully you can join us. Subscribe to both of our channels, The Goat House and The Goat House Plus. And then follow our Twitter. Fan vote and mock drafts coming to an end there. We'll make a video out of that. All kinds of polls, football talk, and answering any questions on that Twitter. Any link that you need will be in the description, the comments. Podcast, 7 episodes out. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. Links down below, comments and description. The trade. The Texans get Brandin Cooks, and they get a 2022 fourth-round pick. The Rams get the 57th overall pick, second-round pick. Texans had the Cardinals as well from the DeAndre Hopkins deal, and they're hanging on to that one, which for their sake, for the Texans' sake, I'm glad because that was the earlier one, of course, and a potential really good receiver could have dropped to there, and there could be a pretty good receiver with that 57th overall pick available. So, yeah, a lot factors in with this. Something I thought was odd was that 2022 fourth-round pick. You rarely see that. Not 2021, so not this year, not next year, the year after. So thought that was odd. Getting a fourth-round pick's pretty good, though. You know, you're swapping a second for a fourth, but then it kind of hurts a little bit. They got to wait till 2022. But yet we're going to roll out with the grades here, and I'm going to break it down. We'll start with the Rams. I gave him an A-. A- for the Rams. I like Cooks. Cooks is a good receiver. I think he's always been underrated. He's a really good deep threat down the sideline. A speedster for sure. He's still pretty young as well, and he was a factor in their offense, but I'm not grading what led them to this situation. What led them to this situation was some poor moves in their throughout their roster the last couple of years. Haven't been happy with them this offseason actually so far. But yeah, you can't really factor that in here because the reason this is good is because they actually take a cap hit this year. And that's the reason for it, that it's not good here because they take a $5 million cap hit. But they do get a second-round pick, so that's appealing. But the good is they're going to save a bunch of money the next 3 years. He was under contract the next 3 years. The least amount was like $16.8 million of a cap hit on one of those years. The rest were north of that. So that's good. They're going to save that money. But you could say, well, he's young, he's good, so why do they need to save that money? Well, to me, in my opinion, Brandin Cook's good. He's a factor, but he's not going to make or break this team. He's going to help the team. He's not going to be, well, they would have won the Super Bowl if they had Brandin Cooks. It's not going to be that, I think they can get a mid-round receiver, especially in this draft class. They could take one in the second round. I'm still thinking their focus is on the offensive line, even with both those picks. And they lost Dante Fowler on the edge. They lost Corey Littleton at inside linebacker. So I don't think they'll take a receiver. It depends on if a ridiculous one's still there available. But my point was I think they can get a solid receiver in this very good class, somewhere in the middle rounds. And that guy can make an impact as receiver 3 because they have Robert Woods, they have Cooper Kupp, a couple other guys that can play. But that receiver, that third best receiver option, or maybe even fourth, is not really going to make or break their team. The offensive line play stepping down was really the difference in Jared Goff's play from 2018 to 2019, and then really the whole offense, and then really the whole team. And the play calling, all of it kind of went into the offensive line there. So I think they can focus back on what's more important, what it's gonna take to get them back, back to the promised land there. So it made sense, more long term, and right now, of course, getting a second round pick, but it's gonna open up more cap space to kind of, because maybe they're not ready to get back to that Super Bowl contend. They can definitely contend for their division, but maybe as of right now, maybe they're not ready to win right now. But with one more offseason, saving that space, for that next year offseason could definitely help them. So I think it's the right step in the right direction. Like I said, the thing that hurts a little bit is that they don't have Cooks, and he's a cap hit this year. but they get the second round pick, save cap for the future. I gave them an A- here. They did put themselves in a sticky situation, with their front office moves in the past. So, but it was good for this specific move. To the Texans grade, back and forth on this one. I gave them a B- here. Yeah, a lot factors into this. Why I like it, why I don't like it, why I like it. I do like Brandin Cooks. I think he's underrated. But mainly, I think he really fits. We've been, ever since Hopkins was traded, we've been talking about, what didn't make sense was trading Hopkins for that value, but what made sense is they're going to save that money and they're going to get one of those receivers that they know fits. Because when we see with and without Will Fuller how much of a difference they are, it just seems like that type of receiver is a real factor in their offense. Not that DeAndre Hopkins wasn't, of course, he very much was. And they kind of go and do that. They get Brandin Cooks, who is at another pretty similar to Will Fuller. The style of receiver, the home run threat, the deep ball threat, the speed threat. So pairing those two guys, and they have some other guys with speed too, but mainly pairing those two as their top two receivers, in my opinion. It should be everyone's opinion. It looks great. We know Cooks fits. He's gonna be good, and that's the good part of this. That's the good part of this. And we all know Hopkins is better than Cooks. But are they really going to take that much of a step down in offensive play in the passing game through the air, going from Hopkins to Cooks? I don't think it's that much. It's really going to be closer than people think. I think everyone thinks about, all right, what's the difference between Hopkins and Brandin Cooks? Okay, I would rank Hopkins first or second best receiver, and I would rank Cooks, he can be pretty rangy. 15 to 20 range, we'll say. Maybe not even up to 15, maybe around 20. So I think people are looking too much into that. I think Cooks fits really good. It's that big play ability. It's going to work with Deshaun Watson. So that's all the good. And the bad is, you take a bit of a cap hit. You didn't want to pay Hopkins, but you want to pay Cooks. Yeah, there is a difference in price, but still, you are paying a pretty good amount of money in a team that is very careful with their money. Maybe it was to save the money for Deshaun Watson in the future or somebody else in the future as well on top of that. But for a team that's been very careful about that, they go and pay this guy that's that does get hurt here and there. He does come off the field. He'll miss a game here. So that's confusing, a little confusing, but he does fit. They know he'll plug and play. He'll play very well. Another question is, would you rather take a receiver with that 57th pick and with this class? And that's a debate. That's a good debate because the reason why, yes, you get a younger guy, a healthier guy, and a much, much cheaper guy. The reason why no is you don't know what's going to be there at 57. They're trying to win now. Deshaun Watson, his deal's coming to an end. They're going to pick up his option, though, so he probably won't be a free agent until 2022. So they're trying to win now, of course. Bill O'Brien's trying to win now. So you get the guy that works in your system, is going to be good right away, going to help you win now. You kind of back and forth on that, but So in the B range here, that's still a good grade, but I think the reason for the minus is, he does cost a bit. That confuses me a little bit. I wish this would have looked a lot better because they did really flip DeAndre Hopkins for Brandin Cooks, and that actually would be a good thing. It would actually be a good thing, somewhat of a good thing, if they got if they traded DeAndre Hopkins for his actual value, because you actually gain a lot. Out of this you gain David Johnson, but you actually gain a lot, and while still getting a receiver that fits in Brandin Cooks. So, there's good, there's bad here. Was surprised about the Texans doing that. I knew they would be an interested team for Cooks because they needed a receiver, and he fit for sure. But I'm surprised that they were okay giving up, because second-round pick's pretty valuable, giving up that while paying a guy when they're a pretty cheap team, that it looked like. So I don't know. They're going to go into the drafts. They're going to, I think pass rush is got to be the main focus. They could look corner. Maybe another defensive lineman. J.J. Watt's career is getting a little closer to the end there. They lost they lost DJ Reader, of course, as well. So, you can't draft purely off need, but we can take a good guess that that's what they'll be targeting. Pass rush is very, very important in today's game. So we'll see what they do. Kind of back and forth on the Texans. I liked it a little more right when it happened because I think about the fit right away. And I do love the fit. There's just some things that don't make sense, too. I do like they got the fourth-round pick back, but 2022 is odd. You don't see that a lot. It's good. We'll give you a fourth, but it's got to be 2 years from now. I wonder what that wonder what the negotiations were like there. I wonder what the, back and forth. Could they have gotten a fifth next year? What could they have gotten this year? That. Not that I'm saying they absolutely messed up on that, because a fourth rounder is a fourth rounder. But I would be curious to know, but something we'll never find out, really. So yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts, your guys' grades. Please click that like button, subscribe to both of our channels, follow our Twitter. It's a must follow. We were talking about this trade a second it happened, like crazy on Twitter, and that applies to anything that happens in the NFL world. Yeah, podcast, and join us for we have a few live streams leading up to, hopefully at least a few, leading up to the NFL draft, and we'll be live during the NFL draft day one, breaking everything down. It'll be a lot of fun. So if you can join us, that's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.